Welcome back to Youth News Official, where it's for the youth, by the youth, and about the youth. I'm Jordan.
I'm Danelle.
And I'm Chris.
So today we'll be exploring the world of video games with our special guest, Miss Yea-Ji, who is the General Manager of All Pixels. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
Hello, very nice to be here with you guys. Thanks for the invite.
So to start off, can you give us a brief explanation on what is All Pixels and what do you guys do there?
Okay, sure. So All Pixels is one of the brands under the Streamline Media Group umbrella. I think you guys know our studio a little better as Streamline Studios locally, because that's what we started with. And All Pixels is one of the brands that focuses on the 3D elements of the video game development pipeline. Like for those who play video games, everything that you see on the screen, like the environments on the characters, it is made most of the times it's made using the 3D workflow. So my team here at All Pixels specializes in building those 3D elements of the games out to populate the game, make it look interesting, and all that.
Right, so as the General Manager, what are your roles and responsibilities at All Pixels?
As a general manager, I jokingly say I generally manage almost everything. It is a role that requires you to be involved in multiple things, basically making sure that your brand, your business division in the company can make money. So I look at different ways of bringing in revenue for the brand, talking to different clients, trying to figure out what's the best way to kind of build that partnership with the clients so that we can work together. I also, together with the help of head of production, I make sure that all the projects that we bring in are able to be run properly. That means that we need to have enough people who runs it. So I need to make sure that our managers are having enough people and manpower in their teams. That means doing interviews, making sure we're bringing people on time, making sure they have the equipment and the software that's needed to build the games, and all that fun stuff.
So are there any specific skills or requirements that are needed to achieve the position you are in today?
It's not really defined by any particular qualifications or anything like that. Rather, it's very skill-based. One way to start is by building up management experiences. So when I first joined Streamline, one of the first few duties that I had was as a junior project manager, I managed projects. I managed projects and teams. So it's starting with very basic things like, how do you task allocations, day-to-day task management, team management, and all that. And as you grow, you get more and more responsibilities given to you, which is, things like managing budgets, managing how to build and maintain relationship with big clients. So of course, I don't do that all myself. I work with various departments on those, but having a little bit of all of those backgrounds do help. So a large part of it is building experiences like managing teams and having interest in, let's say, leadership skills, coaching skills, which is of course easier if you're actually on the job learning it, because it's very different from the theory sometimes.
In relation to that, video game development is a very broad field, right? So what type of jobs would be a good place for fresh graduates to start?
It's a very interesting question. I think there's multiple ways of entry into video games. When you think video games, you often think of programming or art. I think that's what people's mind default goes to. But it is also a business, right? It's a company that's being run to make video games or help others make video games or publish video games. So it has all the departments that other companies usually do, including HR, finance, IT. For each of those departments, there is always entry-level positions available, whether it's let's say, HR operation, or there are internship opportunities available. I think most departments always have a junior positions that you can start out with.
Can you tell us about the work environment at All Pixels?
Our culture, I would say, is very flat in terms of hierarchy and quite open. There's no office politics here. People generally want to help each other. There's always this urge to learn. I think that's partly because the industry is always so fast moving. There's always new technology and softwares that come out that keeps us on the toes. So there's always that spirit of like, we need to learn more. Yeah, and I think because we used to be a small group and we all kind of had a strong like connection, but now we are able to emulate that close-knit culture that we had initially.
Are there a lot of young people in video games, and is it easy to meet like-minded people?
Yes, definitely young people. I think our average age in the studio is like mid to late 20s. Like for us in Streamline, there's a strong emphasis on like team and culture. And we're always like experimenting different ways of like creating a closer team and more efficient team. So yes, I get to work with like-minded people who are passionate about building teams.
I'm sure there are many responsibilities that you and your team have to work through on a day-to-day basis. So how do you ensure that multiple projects can run efficiently?
So just because we're able to do, pursue what we want to do doesn't mean that it's easy. You have to put in the work to prove it. So that it's like ideas are easy, like ideas are cheap. You can just throw it around. The ones we're actually able to execute it are the ones that we value and compensate, right? Because those are the behaviors that pushes us forward. And like working from home comes with a lot of responsibilities, especially with time management, because you have to be really strict because you have all the different resources that are available to you. So it's a lot harder, and especially if your work and like life areas are not really separated, which a lot of our teams like tend to live in. And I think that's really important that you try to set that like some kind of a ritual that sets you and it reminds you that, okay, I'm done with work, I'm checked out.
So what are the obstacles that you and your team have to work through?
Good question. I think it's finding that balance between the deadline, the milestones, the quality that you want to push for, and the budget, right? That has to be always in a balance. Just because you want to make the best game in the world doesn't mean that you can spend ages doing it. So getting the most out of that time and the money that you have is very important. And people here can be very passionate, and it means that you're working with different personalities. So yeah, like not being afraid to like challenge each other and just pull the plug when you feel like something's not right.
So there are many collaborations that have been done by your company and your team. So what difficulties have you faced when working with bigger companies?
A couple of things, like you said, even before MCO hit or coronavirus hit, we were dealing with people like online, because you don't frequently get to meet them in person, right? So communication, like clear communication, so that your emails or your in the Zoom calls, there's no misunderstandings in between that. Time zones can be tricky sometimes, especially in the East Coast in the US. Those are some other challenges of working with people overseas. Like, it's not just the language itself, but cultures have different like habits or what's considered appropriate.
Could you share with us the biggest achievements or collaborations that left a huge impression on the company?
I think we move so fast that there is always something like big each year, like big turning points each year. I would say the most recent one would be the project that we did with Balenciaga, for example. But we had to build a virtual like fashion show for them online called Afterworld. I think that was a monumental change in the company, because it helped us realize what we were saying all this while, because we have never been a video games company from the start, right? Yes, we focus on video games, but we have always been a media, technology, and an entertainment company. What that means is, have you heard of this phrase called metaverse? Basically, video games is going to become your virtual world where people are willing to spend what's considered real like resources on there. So that kind of like bridging between video games experiences and real life experiences is what they call metaverse. And Balenciaga was one of it, right? Fashion shows, which was traditionally a physical event, with the Unreal Engine's technology, the real-time technology, they were able to do it online. So it was a moment where we really saw that like really happening, that connection between video games and outside world, different brands like happening.
So with the surge of new video games being released every day, what do you think is the future of video games in Malaysia?
Up until a couple of years ago, like it wasn't seen as a very prestigious career. Like a lot of parents, like when we go to graduation shows in schools, they like worry like, hey, can my son or daughter make a living out of they don't even say working in video games, playing video games. But that has really been changing. And I think that's partly due to the pandemic. But video games being very technology based, we have been really fortunate and privileged to be able to continue working. And actually, a lot of the video games company has been doing better during the pandemic because, people need some sort of entertainment and media when they're stuck home. Yes, so that mindset shift has really been changing, and I've been noticing that as well. But the talent has always been here in Malaysia, and that is exactly the reason why Streamline came to Malaysia to begin with, because we saw a lot of talent here, a lot of passionate people wanting to make games and wanting to make a living out of their craft and passion. So I would say future of Malaysia in video games is bright.
Before we end this video, what advice would you give to the youths who are interested in this field?
Just try it, especially if you're coming out of school. You don't have much responsibilities. It's an industry that rewards hard work. It does pay off, right? If you study it and if you build your portfolio, if you build your career and experiences and skills doing different things. And I think our education system is built in a way that it doesn't really let you experiment much before you're out in the society. It's kind of harsh if you think about it to let 16-year-olds, 15-year-olds decide what they want to do for the rest of their life. So, if you feel like it's not right for you, if what you're studying right now is not right for you, or what you thought you liked isn't right for you, just take up the courage, try something new, or pursue what you think is right for you. Thank you for doing this. I think you guys are really helping your peers or people who are freshly graduating really get an insight into different industries. But yeah, keep doing what you're doing. It's cool.
Thank you so much for watching our video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like and subscribe for more youth-based content, and comment down below what you think of today's video as well.
And do check out our other social platforms in the description below. We'll see you guys next time. Bye!
Bye.